Good morning. This is Mike Lodge. I am the business advisor, and I'm glad to see you this morning. Well, it's going to be about 90 here today. Last week we had cooled down. We were in the 60s, and then all of a sudden we jumped back up to the 90s again. I'm surprised we're not all coming down with the flu because of the change in weather. If there's anything that starts the flu, it's change in weather. But we've made it thus far, so it's all okay. Listen, in some of my podcasts in the past, I have been warning you and talking to you about the food shortages and the gas shortages and the natural gas shortages, I should say, that are going to be coming in just a few more months. Now, I want to specifically talk about the food situation. And this is a serious situation because what has happened is that farming has become less productive. Not by choice. They didn't want to choose. Farmers love farming. Farmers love to get out there in the fields and plant corn and wheat and grow beef and raise beef. I guess you don't grow them, but you raise beef and chicken and all this other farming business lines that they do. And each and every single one of them, what are they doing? They're providing us with food. Their whole responsibility has been throughout the ages of farming to provide food. Even back in when Christ was alive, they were still farming. They were creating wheat. They were doing cattle. They were doing sheep. They were doing goats. They were doing all kinds. So farming has always been this need. It is an important job of our nation and of other nations. But I was listening to a podcast yesterday, as a matter of fact, and they were talking about what's happening with the Dutch farmers. And the problem is you've got these environmentalists that have come in and said, listen, cows and sheep and all these other animals are producing too much gas, too much environmental hazard. They've been doing this for ages. But now all of a sudden environmentalists say, because they're so woke, they want to create new rules and regulations on farmers. So farmers in the Dutch farmers are really in trouble at the moment. They want to produce their product to feed their country, and that's why there is a shortage of food at the moment. It's because these environmentalists have come in and said, well, you have to reduce your output of gases. You've got to clean that up. So they did. Through technology they did, but now the environmentalists have come in and said, no, that's not good enough. We want you to reduce your livestock. Why? And so what happens? Meat goes down, chicken goes down, production goes down, everything goes down. Because environmentalists have said, we need to reduce the gases. Let me tell you, there's a whole bunch of different ways to control manure gases. And I've seen it because I've been involved in it. I have worked on cogeneration power plants where we literally took the cow poop, made it into pellets, and burned it. And it was a good, natural thing. In fact, you can even build a container over top of the manure and take out the gases from that manure and burn it in a cogeneration power plant. So you can produce power with it. And so there's a whole bunch of other technology things that you can do with manure that can reduce it, but you don't need to reduce your livestock. When you start reducing your livestock, you're taking away food supplies from the people of those countries. And we're seeing the same thing happen here in the United States. Now, for the past several months, we've been going through a bird flu thing that has killed off millions and millions and millions of chickens. So if you saw your chicken prices rise, that's the reason why. Because we had sick birds. And again, environmentalists and the United States government has gone to farmers and said, you've got to reduce your animals. You've got to get rid of some of them because they're producing too much gas. Instead of looking at a technological, clean way to reduce these gases, they say, get rid of the food. Get rid of these animals. So what's happening is, if you've looked at the production cycle of farming, it has gone way down in the United States, way down in almost every country, because we've got these environmentalists that have come in and said, okay, we don't care if people are going to starve. We don't care about that. All that we care about is clean air. That's all that we care about. I don't care if Johnny Boy, who's only 2, can't eat. We don't care about that. And so we have this political organization out there who has brainwashed these politicians into believing that they need to change the environment in order to have people live. But in the meantime, they're creating a food shortage that is destroying people's lives. They are not able to eat. So food is getting worse. Now, the other part of this problem that I've been talking about is also the energy supply. If you look at Germany, if you look at all of these countries, they can no longer afford natural gas because it's so high. So they're going and they're trying to burn coal. They're trying to find sources of coal and wood. The number one Google search in Germany at the moment is wood. Where to get wood. So we have all of these environmentalists that have come and they're literally destroying the way of life of many Americans because they have reduced the amount of food just because they say environmentally it's better. Unfortunately, those of us who are going hungry, we don't care about that. We care about living. We care about feeding our children and our families, our schools, our hospitals. So when I say there's going to be a food shortage, it's because it's happening right now. It's happening in Germany. It's happening in the Dutch countries. It's happening in Amsterdam and the Netherlands, and it's happening all over Europe. That the food production has gone way down. Thus, we have less food because environmentalists have come in and said, with their big old hammer, their big old sickle and hammer, and it's destroyed us. So we have a problem in the United States at the moment, and it's getting worse. Farmers are upset about it. The government has told them, we're going to pay you subsidies not to produce food. When Americans need this food. We need the wheat. We need the apples and the oranges and whatever else is grown, the avocados. We need all this. Gosh, the other day, and this was amazing, I took a picture of it. I went in to buy an avocado, and it was $6 for one avocado. And that's here in South Carolina. So one of the things that happens when you have less food, the prices go up. So the government of the United States, with their environmentalists with them on board, have created less food. So what happens? The price of the food goes up and there's less food. So people begin fighting for food. They're looking for other sources of food. So when we want to place blame on this, we have to look at the government. And we have to look at the leaders of government. And we have to look at their political agendas, because right now they have a political agendas of this Green New Deal. AOC, Green New Deal. Unfortunately, what it has created is a food shortage. and a natural gas shortage. And so what are people going to do during the winter? They're going to pay through the nose. It's going to hurt a lot. They're going to have to make the decision on, do I heat my home and keep my family warm, or do I make my house a little bit colder so I can buy food? So I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just saying that we have made some really bad decisions within our politics of our country. And we have let the environmentalists ride over us and stomp on us, and now it's affecting us big time. So as we go into these winter months, we are going to have a natural gas issue, and we're going to have a food issue. I was in a grocery store yesterday. I won't mention their name. But I was watching the manager, and the manager was in the cereal aisle. And he was literally putting boxes on the front line of the shelves, at the front of the shelves. But there was nothing in back of those boxes. They were all at the front. And he would come by, as somebody would come along and take a box, and he would come along and rearrange the boxes so that it would always look like there was enough food, enough boxes there. I watched him for about 10 minutes doing this. It's because there isn't enough food coming in at the moment to fill the shelves completely in a lot of our communities. Especially if the community is truck driven. In other words, the transportation is coming in from trucks. It might be days before that food supply comes into that store. I hate to think about this. I can't even believe that I'm talking about this, because I never thought that America would get to this point where politics or political agendas overtake the American people, and we have these issues that affect every single family in this country. Not just the politicians here, but if you look at the politicians over in where the Dutch farmers are, and their government has said, okay, we've got to cut down your livestock by 40%. They just announced this, that they want you to cut it down by 40%. What happens when you cut down the meat supply by 40%? That means people are going to go hungry, and the prices are going to go up. We're making some really bad choices here. We're not making common sense choices. We're making political choices. Political choices are never good for a nation, or any nation. So listen, my heart goes out to those Dutch farmers. As I listened to it, the Dutch farmer was literally in tears because he knew he could do more. He knew he could grow more. He had a relationship with every single animal on the bloodlines of those animals, and now he's having to get rid of 40% of his thing. They had over 30,000 cattle farms and dairies. They're down to 15,000 now. What do you think that does to the cost when you have less being made? We have become stupid. And if we let this continue on, we're going to have even more and greater problem, because the political agendas of these environmentalists are hurting you and me. Listen, if you want to have more access to me, go to www.lodgelodge-co.com. Again, that's www.lodgelodge-co.com. Sometimes when you're doing these podcasts, your mind wanders. Mine just wandered. Old age. I'm old. Talk with you soon, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.